Yeah, drive by and check them out. Yeah.
And part 3, I don't know, that's like 6B, B1, B2, B3. I don't know where we are. But the next part of that is saying on each one of those houses about how much was the cost for whatever it is that they did. Because you want to start to gauge, you don't know the cost of construction in your local market. You want to know the cost and how long did it take. So they'll probably say, okay, on 123 Main Street, it was a gut rehab. You know, I did all new kitchens and baths. I painted the flooring, you know, new roof, whatever it was. And you say, okay, about how much was that? And how long did it take? You want to know time and money. And you want to do that on their last 3 projects. You want to drive by and check them out. See if you can look in the window. If somebody's moved in, knock on the door. Ask them how are things. Oh yeah, we moved in here 4 months ago and everything that they did is broken. This don't work, that don't work. You know, you get to evaluate the quality of that contractor's work.
Definitely. Got it.
So, and I'm giving you this homework assignment because the number one person, well, after God, that I want on my team right now is that contractor, because that's who makes or breaks you. You know, they you're not the captain of the ship; they really are. You can get into a deal, but they're the ones that can keep you in it. Right? In terms of being within budget, within time, all these things. So I think I just want to talk about a few things, but I've given you a lot of homework, so I don't want to overwhelm you. But I've given you enough homework to last you the next 30 days until the next meeting. I just want to add in, I was taking notes when you were talking, about when you see things that are owned by a trust, those are also easy to look up because the trust must be registered as well. So you just want to go to you want to Google Georgia Department of Corporations, just to go and search the corporation database and put in the name of that trust. So I'm guessing you've looked up a couple of properties and you saw trusts as the owner or the estate of or whatever. Just go see if you can find them in the Georgia Corporation database to get to see who's the trustee and their contact information to reach out to them. So here's the thing, right? When you think about your 2 most precious resources, time and money. Actually, time is the most precious because we only got what God gives us. Boy, I tell you, if I could roll the clock back, there's a couple of things I would do. Actually, I roll the clock back to live with my mom. Well, I actually do, but I mean living with my mom and not being an adult. Because, man, being financially responsible is quite something else, right? So, but then I would have to live by all her rules again. But it would be nice not to have to worry about paying the mortgage for at least a couple of months or something, right? But since I can't roll the clock back, I might as well deal with what the the kind of situation that's at hand. So time, you have your 2 most precious resources are time and money. And so what you're doing right now is you're trading your time for future dollars. So I've given you a lot of homework and you're like, oh man, this is going to take a lot of time. But when you break it down, you got 30 days, right? It's 30 days between now and the next meeting. You do these 6 things on your homework assignment. Let's say you tackle 1 a week or a couple of them a week. It really won't take that much time. I mean, to call up and have a conversation with the Chamber of Commerce or the Economic Development Council, that's no more than a 15-minute conversation. To do the other things, you know, to submit a Freedom of Information Request Act, once you find out how to do it, to send it, like for me, one place in Florida, I just had to send an email. That was less than 1 minute to do that. These things that I'm asking you to invest your time in is is what's going to save you money in the future. So to find a motivated seller, to find a good deal, it takes your time, and that's what everyone on this call is doing. Wait a minute, didn't you guys have homework last month? Yeah. As a group. Oh shoot, I need to find out about that. Who did their homework and how did it go? All right. So okay. So D, yeah. So because if you're not, all the things I'm teaching you how to do is how to find what we call off-market deals. Things that are on the market, which basically means they're listed in the MLS, or they're for sale on Zillow, or for sale in Craigslist. Once something's gone to the market, most of the meat is off that bone. And now everybody else knows about it. And so that creates competition. I'm not saying that you can't find a deal on the MLS. So you definitely, want to add a realtor to your team, and you want to say, hey, I would like for you to set up an MLS alert of all 3-bedroom, 2-bath houses that come up for sale in these 5 zip codes. And I'm going to tell you exactly what you're going to tell them. Hold on, because I need to go to realtor.com. And I want to look up Augusta, Georgia. I'm not going to screen share. By the time it becomes active, I would have already found the information. But I've showed you guys how to do this before on realtor.com. So I'm going to realtor.com and I'm looking at Augusta housing market. And I want to get the median sold price. So the median sold price is, I'm around up $145,000. So you're going to tell the realtor, I want all 3-bedroom, 2-bath houses that come on the market where their asking price is below $145. And it takes 2 seconds for a realtor to set up that MLS alert for you. Okay. And so every time a house that comes on the market that's below the median sale price, that's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, you'll get an email alert. And you'll do your little quick analysis on the property and submit an offer. And I want to tell you guys something about those of you who are in hot markets or upcoming hot markets. Stop sitting and waiting. Someone emailed me earlier this week. She was like, oh, I found this amazing deal. 24 hours later, it was gone. When you find something, email. Well, I don't know what to offer. I don't know if they're going to accept my offer. All these questions. You know what an offer is? Your offer, that email of your offer is, let me see, bonjour. I don't know how you say hello in German. I know in Spanish it's hola. Your offer, I don't care which language you pick. Your offer is simply hello. I don't care about the number. I don't care about the contingency or anything. You're just letting the seller know through that realtor that you're interested in making an offer. All right? So by the time she did all her calculations and got back, the property was already gone. Well, at least under contract. It ain't gone to the property sold. I advise her to keep it on her watch list because, as you know, contracts fall through. But it was a great deal, and kind of just the old adage, the early bird catches the worm. All right, I'm rambling, Daniel. I don't know where we were, but anyway, I hope you got something out of that conversation. So now I'm going to say, what are your questions, Daniel? And anyone else in the group that has questions about the things I told Daniel. So first you, Daniel, any questions about the things that I've coached you on?
No, I took notes on everything you said and what I need to do. And it was funny, the last thing you said kind of hit what I was worried about was that a number of properties I looked for were not on market. They're not for sale. And it's just so funny that it was the last thing you mentioned, that usually the best thing is to go for the off market, because now I'm not competing with everybody who's looking for the same type of properties. They may not know to contact the owners directly, and they may be using Zillow or all the other things. So it's funny, the last thing you mentioned is exactly what I was thinking of when I saw some of the properties available, and I went and did all the work you told us how to do last month. I was like, damn it, this is not for sale, it's owned by somebody. But I got all the information anyway, and maybe I would get a better deal than if I waited until they finish construction or bringing up the money to fix it and then try to sell it.
That's absolutely right. Yep. So
and the competition, I don't get into a bidding war.
Yep. So the more time it takes you in working and finding an off-market deal, the bigger the profit spread. Trust me. Yep. So, it's funny. It's like we go to all these auction sites and we see the properties that are up for auction, and we're like, oh man, that's a great deal. It still is a deal, but let me tell you, the properties that make it to the market, whether it's the MLS or you see it on the auction website like auction.com or HUD foreclosure, well, I'll take it out. Not the HUD foreclosures. Well, maybe I will include them. We're getting the bottom of the barrel. The Wall Street hedge funds and big, and all these people, they buy these distressed properties in bulk. The ones that they don't want are the ones that go to market that we end up getting. So kind of think of it from that scenario. The properties that go on the market are the ones that the private investors like you, Daniel, who are doing the driving for dollars and basically investing your time to find the off-market deals, didn't want. But you got to the deal first. So continue to invest your time. Literally, if you set aside maybe 3 hours out of your week to do this stuff, you will be well on your way to finding some amazing deals and getting out of the rat race.
Okay.
All right?
Thank you, sir.
Okay, great. Anyone got questions about the things in particular that I coached Daniel on? I have you all muted, so I think.
What was the question? Is there any questions on what we had that you just coached him on?
Yeah.
Nothing really comes to mind. I think it was very detailed. I like it. That's what we're doing. So.
Yep. All right.
There's probably more, because there's so many pieces from the government coming in. You said you wanted to make sure it was inked and everything to look for, and from the organizations.
Yes. So and I get that I gave a lot because it's almost 2:30, so I probably talk for like an hour because I can just do that, right? I can run my mouth, but so it's probably a lot, and it is being recorded. I should probably stop the recording and maybe start another one so that it's separated. Hold on. Alrighty. So you're up next, Russell. What's your questions?
My questions are. So I've been working, as you all knew, a month ago in the census, and right after the last meeting, because I was working from the Atlantic City down to Cape May, that I found out they really needed more enumerations done near Camden, and you had mentioned Camden, and so when my supervisor said that, I said, funny you should ask us to do that, because I'm thinking about. We were discussing about investing possibilities there, because it was declared an opportunity zone. Now, so I took him up on it when it was out in the sort of the outskirts area in the adjacent county, because there's a Camden County, and then there's the city, and then there's Gloucester. So I drove through it. I really didn't see any evidence of much of anything that had been happening in the last 3 since that was done in end of 16 or 17. Although I guess there is that area by the river there, right, where, between, well, if this is if this is Camden and this is Philly, looking at it this way, and the river is here, it's like right along the area where there's a submarine and a bunch of things to do. Though I could not really find much. I think someone mentioned Gloucester to me as an area, that part of town in the sort of the southwest area where stuff was going on for investments. And so the other thing that I started, that I should show you, I started right after I finished that. I'm learning about taxes. How many of us know that taxes are very important? And so I've been taking this again for work as a tax preparer next year, probably with Liberty Tax. However, that has the big advantage of getting to know the tax code even better. And I'm really I'm into 5 chapters so far of 20, which is of this class. It's an 8-week course Liberty Tax is offering.
Got it.
So
Great.
yeah, so those are the 2 things that have been going on. I guess my question now is, the time wanes down before the election. I have not had the chance to really put into place some of the other things we had discussed that we'd want to do now because it's an election year. And I guess I'm starting to get a little bit, should I say, not really paralyzed, but yeah, sort of semi-paralyzed, saying, oh my gosh, maybe it's reaching the point where it's too late, or could be getting to a point that's too late. And I'd like to know if that's something you could comment on, or
Okay, so
being the election is just, the elections are what, a little over 2 weeks away, 16 days now.
Probably, yeah. So I'm gonna make 2 comments in response to what you just asked. Number one, Russell, as long as you've been knowing me, you should know by now that I have a bad memory. So I don't remember exactly whatever I said or advised to do.
You're talking about like the letters, like the woe is me letter and the raise that and all the things had to do with the pandemic and had to do with the fact that it was an election year, or a pre-election anyway.
Yeah, got it.
So
yeah. Still do those things, Russell. So here I am about if it's too late.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's never too late. Because whose market is it?
Our market.
Yep. And so whether the market is up, whether the market is down, or whether the market is flat, it's always my market, and I invest accordingly.
Okay.
So,
do you guys see another crash coming?
For sure.
Yeah.
However,
Big
out of
crash.
every problem becomes what?
Opportunities.
An opportunity.
An opportunity.
Yes.
Yeah, so how many businesses, I think I talked about it before, Uber was born out of the last crash. Not that I'm looking to create another Uber, but I'm just giving that as an example that in that problem, the founders of Uber saw an opportunity. For real estate investors, a crash is a correction. And if you follow my coaching,
Mm-hmm.
there's never a crash for you. Let me explain why. I've given my 3 criteria for litmus test of a deal, and it's in this order, right? So number 1 is positive cash flow. Number 2 is the return on investment, and for me, I try at all possible ways to have it be infinite, because I use OPM, other people's money, and OPT, other people's time.
Mm-hmm.
And then number 3 is the appreciation. And so appreciation, since it's the last thing that gets impacted in what we're terming a crash or a correction, it doesn't hurt me. So why? Because I'm investing for cash flow, right? So when the market is up, that means that home prices are going up. It's a seller's market. Um, it's not enough properties for sale, but you got a huge demand from buyers, right? So the sellers are calling the shot. And so in an up market, that means that my property value is going up, which is number 3 in my list, right? The appreciation, the market value.
Right.
At that time, I can refinance that property, take the equity out, and acquire another asset. Or I can sell that property, take the equity out, and acquire another asset. All right, let's talk about when the market's going down. It's a buyer's market. That means that there's too many houses for sale, but not enough buyers. So the buyers are calling the shot in terms of what they're willing to pay for a property. And so when there's too many houses for sale and not enough buyers, the prices come down to try to get the buyer to buy it. So when prices are coming down, I'm not necessarily looking to refinance or sell. My value is a function of time. So I know it's down now, but it ain't going to stay down forever. Markets go up, they go down, and they stabilize, right? However, because I'm investing for cash flow, when the market is crashing, which we're having right now, right? We got these record unemployment times. There's a moratorium on evictions and a moratorium on foreclosures. Well, depending on the state, your local market where you are, right? But I think here in New York, there's a moratorium until December 31st. And then if things don't get better by December 31st, they probably will keep extending it. Because it was supposed to end July 31st, but then they extended it to December 31st. So, the reason why I don't get impacted is that, well, so far, it's because I use Section 8 as my, I think Daniel said earlier about the government, or someone mentioned about the government. Yeah. My thing is, if the government can't pay, we have bigger things to worry about than me going into foreclosure.
That's right.
So a lot of people don't like Section 8. However, I love Section 8. Because what happens is, if you lose your job, you know, let's say you're paying a portion of your rent and Section 8 is paying a portion of your rent. Because it goes by your income. They, you can pay up to 30% of your income towards your housing expense. Or they can push it to 40%. So let's say you're working at McDonald's and they close down your McDonald's. Oh, literally, the one on 42nd Street closed, which I don't know why, but the McDonald's on 42nd Street closed. So let's say you were working there, you lost your job, and you were on Section 8. As long as you tell your caseworker within 2 weeks that your income has changed, they could be paying a portion of your rent to 100% of your rent. So, as a backup, I always like to make sure that in my rental properties, like when we had the 100 unit, I always wanted to make sure, oh good, I'm not recording the call. Okay, good. Because this is discrimination really, right? What I'm about to say. If somebody applied to rent an apartment, let's say I got one apartment for rent, and they were equal in everything else. Like, the criminal background check came out great. The eviction check came out great. You know, they had good references. They have a great reason for why they're moving. Like, everything else was equal. The person that's on Section 8 versus the person that's not on Section 8, I would take the person that's on Section 8. Why? Because of what I just said, that if they lose their job, I know the government will pay the rent. So what I did, because the call is not being recorded, was that the mortgage payment was $17,000 a month. I always wanted to make sure that the portion that I was getting from Section 8 was $17,000 a month. Because I knew no matter what, that mortgage payment was guaranteed. And so I selected people based on their Section 8 or not. So, for instance, the property that, and it's not time for me to talk about me, but I'll just interweave parts of me into our group discussion today. But the first person, after 3 years of labor of love on this Hartford project, my first renter moved in this week. So it was a great feeling to finally
Congratulations.
yeah, thank you. To finally move into this building. She's on Section 8. And the other people thus far that have rented are not on Section 8. And the vacancies that I have left to fill, unfortunately, I'm only going to rent them to Section 8 people. And maybe I'm not technically discriminating yet. Maybe I am. I don't know. But I'm looking out for me at this point. The reason why I'm only going to rent them to Section 8 people. I take that back. I'll do Section 8 and retirees. I need somebody that got some guaranteed money. So if you're a retiree, your pension, your retirement benefits didn't get impacted by COVID. You know what I mean? It's not like they can't stop paying you. So I take that back. I'm only want to rent to Section 8 people right now and retirees. So people that have guaranteed income. Their income is not subject to them going to work. Because as someone just said, is there a crash coming? I feel like there's going to be a huge round of layoffs coming. Because this virus thing seems not to be coming to a head anytime soon. And so I want to hedge against the future of having someone inside my unit who gets laid off tomorrow, can't pay the rent, which that still would have been fine. Like I still would have been open to renting to them. But now with the moratorium on evictions, I'm like, wait a minute. So I let this person move in. They got laid off. That's not their fault. You know, and my heart would go out to them that they got laid off. But yet I can't kick them out because there's a moratorium on evictions. So they're not paying re-rent. They can't pay rent because they lost their job. But then at the same time, they can't move to a place that they can afford. Or I can't force them to move to a place that they can afford because there's a moratorium on evictions. So right now, I'm only wanting to rent to Section 8 people or retired people, or should I say people that have guaranteed income that can pay the rent. So I have no clue what I was just talking about. Why did I go into that story? Oh, because somebody asked about a crash coming. Yes. There is. Sometimes I'll talk and put my own self to sleep, so probably you guys are asleep as well. But yes, my prediction is there's a crash coming, but out of every problem becomes an opportunity. That's why I've been urging you guys so much to do your homework, do your homework, do your homework. Invest that time now, because you will be ahead of the 8 ball. You'll be ahead of the game next year. When we get into more of a financial spiral down, that you'll be able to pick up tremendous opportunities. Because I don't do anything, and we do it all. You have your amazing team beside you to take advantage of these opportunities. So, yep. I think I answered your question, Russell. Did I answer your question, or you have?
Well, I was just saying more. Yeah, I understand about the market being up, down, sideways. I'm talking about the things like the letters I was sending out to. I'm going to keep sending them to KeyBank and the other creditors. I'm wondering. I'm,
Yeah.
I'm guessing you're what. So, or maybe you're saying this. It's never too late because you think this is when you said not going to come to a head. In other words, it's going to be a long, maybe a couple years before this gets even resolved. This whole.
Yeah, but even if we weren't in a down market, you could still send those letters.
Yeah. All right. I'm just saying. I'm saying although if we weren't in a down. Because of COVID. Yeah.
No, just because we're in a down market, they're probably more open to honoring your request. But you can send those letters regardless of what market we're in.
Yeah. All right.
But definitely do your homework, Russell. And I don't know if I mentioned this to you guys before, but I'm a big believer in Mint.com and managing my interest rates and knowing the money that's going in the bank and knowing the money that's going out the bank. And you'll just be surprised, especially when you got things on auto pay of stuff you're not realizing, like, oh, shoot, they just charged me for a website. I'm not even using that website anymore. Why didn't cancel that? You know what I mean? Because you just got so much going on that you're not keeping track. So I love Mint.com or Personal Finance, Personal Capital. Is it Personal Finance, Personal Capital? I don't know. Any of those apps that track your expenses. So, yep, that's that. Okay, if no more questions, Russell, I'm going to go to Javier.
I think that any thoughts about the tax course and that I was looking into the Camden area? Any further thoughts on that?
No, as I said before to Daniel, knowledge is power. So the more knowledge you can get, great. The only thing I don't want you to do is, like my father told me, analysis paralysis, or you. Is it the saying you could be so smart that you become stupid? I don't want to say that. I just want to
or not take action.
There you go. You said it before I could.
Right.
I just want you to take action on something.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
Okay, Javier, you up, brother?
All right, thank you. So, I just have a question. I need some brainstorming ideas. So, thought this would be the best avenue to go. But yeah, in a contract for a commercial, small building. My only problem, usually in the past I wouldn't have this problem, but because of COVID, it's becoming a little bit more challenging. A lot of lenders, mostly banks for sure, they're not taking up the risk, especially when it comes to retail space, office space.
That's right.
Right. So now, I'm trying to go through other avenues, maybe like lending brokers, and they're having a bit of a tough time, but maybe I could do like a bridge loan or some sort, which I'm trying to see if I could find a lender to do that. But it has a tenant in, putting as much down as possible, up to like 30 to 40% down. So I'm just trying to figure out, if a lending institution you may know that's willing to lend on this.
All righty, so here we go. So first tell me about the deal.
Yeah, so it's $975K. It has like about 5 storefronts, and then with one of the storefronts being occupied, that's been there for a long time. And then the rest of the building is empty.
Okay, so it's $975 and it's 5 units, right?
Let's say 5 storefronts and above open floor plan, so let's say 6 in total.
Wait, so the open floor plan above, that's not occupied, or what is it zoned as? Like, what can the space be used as?
Since it's a downtown zone, it could be used for anything. Retail.
Okay, so we got 6 units, 1 needs to be repurposed.
Right.
Okay.
Which I'm not really worried about the repurpose, but if I just rent out just 2 of the units, it's going to cover any debt and then some.
Well, I'm just trying to understand the deal, right? So we got $975. Right. Tell me about the occupied. Go one by one. The occupied tenants. I want to know what they're paying and who they are.
Yeah, the occupied tenant is a tax company, and they're paying it's a net lease, so they're paying about $3,000 a month.
$3,000 a month.
Yes.
It's a tax company.
Yeah.
All right. What's the next occupied tenant?
That's the only occupied tenant right now.
Okay. So why is the building valued at $975?
The building is, I mean, for the location, the structure, I'm assuming, and yeah. And from what other things are selling for in the area.
That's all great. Why is the building valued at $975? It's valued off of the income and expenses. So this is a commercial property. It's only generating $3,000 a month, yet the asking price is $975.
Right. So I'm sure.
And it's not an A credit tenant. So this tax company, taxes are seasonal. They make good.
Oh, sorry. So the tenant is H&R Block.
Oh, okay. All right. So, but still, look at Neiman Marcus pulled out. Isn't JCPenney closing? I mean, here's where I'm going. I'm not sure how anyone is coming up to appraise this property for $975 now. I'm not seeing how that's happening. I would definitely speak to a lender to find out what they would, regardless of whether they're lending or not. Just say, here's the income and expenses. What's your current valuation of this property? Because to me, $975 is way too much. Way too much. I'm not buying on what you used to be. I'm not buying what you could be. What you could be is my value play. I'm buying on what you are.
Right.
And what you are is determined by your current profit and loss and the balance sheet. So what you are is not $975.
Right.
What you are is me trying to buy your problem. No, I'm not buying problems. I am buying problems, I'm sorry. But I'm not buying problems that will continue to be my problem. I'm buying a problem that can turn into an opportunity. So now
I want to buy it because I know it's obviously if I just need to rent a space, I'll be breaking even. Which I do have a prospect tenant taking over another space. So that's why I want to take on that risk.
Yeah, just my caution, Harvey. I'm not discouraging you. I'm just giving you my caution. When I was at Washington, how many people came in my office? I always call her name, Judy Chung. I want to buy this place at Trump. And I used to tell her, the cash flow, you have got to take $1,000 out of your pocket every month to cover this mortgage because you just want to buy a place in Trump. Yeah, but I got these students coming from Korea and they'll rent, and then, in 5 years, it's going to go up in value and I'll be able to sell it and make my money back. And what happens? The crash came. And not only did the crash come for Julie Chung, it came for a whole lot of other people.
Right.
And we had a ton of foreclosures because people invested they brought on future appreciation as opposed to cash flow.
I was also going to say, based on that, if you don't mind me saying, what's the future, and you touched on this, the future value with like Neiman Marcus and other things closing, and the rent, given the pandemic and the crash, what we're seeing.
Yeah, so that's why he's going to have a hard time finding lenders.
Yeah. So,
but let's continue the conversation. So, because every problem, there's a solution, right? And finding that solution is what creates the opportunity. I'm just saying I wouldn't do that at $975. But let's talk about you acquiring at X price. To me, it's $975 minus X. But who is this tenant that you're potentially thinking about renting to?
Oh, like it's a therapy company, counseling.
Ah, there we go. Because that's what I was about to go to. So, who? money never disappears; it just changes hands, right?
Right.
So we got people who, let's just say that McDonald's on 42nd Street that closed. Those people got laid off, right? So you got people who are coming out of the workforce, but then you got people who are increasing in the workforce. Amazon just hired how many people, right? So
Right.
you got you think about companies that cater to I'll just say the virtual lifestyle, or people who staying at home. So you got delivery companies, you got which is hence why Amazon is hiring a ton of people. You got right now the health sector is exploding. My friend in Boston was telling me, he said, man, you know what they're doing up here, all these vacant malls, because retail is dead. Doctors are going in, the malls are offering them discounted rates to come and rent to set up doctor offices inside of the malls. Why are the doctors setting up doctor offices inside of malls? Because he's like, well, you know what, we're in the healthcare profession and people got to come to the doctor, but where you used to have 3 and 4 doctors working in a doctor's office, they all want to be individualized because you can't social distance. When you take the number of patients multiplied by the 4 doctors, they still want to continue to see the amount of patients that they were seeing, but now you got more people and a much you got the same amount of people but a much limited space because of social distancing. So now they're splitting up into single doctor offices, and they're repurposing these commercial spaces.
Wow.
Because I was asking him about what to do about my commercial space in Hartford. So he was like, and you know, we got to have a separate bathroom, one for the staff, and then one for the patients. And so I'm like, okay, so I could imagine if I had a medical complex under contract now, that would be something that'd be attractive to a lender. I'm just throwing that out, Harvey, because I don't know the sizing of your space, what's ideal for it. But the fact that you've got all commercial, where the commercial sector is definitely, I stake everything on it, is crashing. It's crashing. So you've now got to find, I think you're going to have to go to a hard money lender, but the biggest thing is you got to tell him your plan of how you're going to be able to cover this nut on $975 with somebody only paying $3,000 a month.
Yeah, I've been talking to Hard Money, but even they're like sticking with residential.
Yes, Harvey. I'm not saying that this is impossible, but it's going to take a lot to get this deal done if you don't have all cash.
I agree.
And so now you're looking at private investors, and that's the reason why I went back to the Judy Chung and investing for cash flow as opposed to appreciation. As a private investor, I wouldn't invest in this deal. I'm looking at the same as a lender. The difference is that I'm not charging origination fees and having you go through all these hassles, but I want to look at the question. The question as an investor is, when I lend you my money, when am I going to get it back? And how much are you going to pay me for it?
Who's Judy Chung?
When I'm going to get it back is questionable. How much you're going to pay me for it is questionable. Because I don't bank on I'll gladly pay you on Tuesday for a hamburger today. This is the valuation of this building. You only have one tenant.
Right.
So I'm saying all that to say, for me, it's a conversation to go back to the seller. My conversation with the seller is, this is the valuation of your building. You're asking $975. Your property is based on the current income and expenses. It's not worth $975 right now. Maybe it used to be, but sure, I used to be in love, or I used to be in this. What used to be ain't what it is now. Right? So the past doesn't matter. All we have is what is today. and not even really about the future. The future is our value play, but those things could happen or maybe not happen. So we definitely want I'm sure you heard in real estate, you make your money on the purchase, not the sale. Right now, you're trying to make your money on the sale, but you're losing money on the purchase. This building's not worth $975.
Okay.
So that leads me to, what do we do? So I'll go in the contract for $975, subject to financing contingency, appraisal contingency, inspection contingency, and title contingency, and environmental, because this is commercial. So I will have 5 contingencies. Take down your notes if you missed that.
I got it.
Financing contingency,
Yep.
appraisal contingency, inspection contingency, title contingency, and environmental. Environmental screwed me up a couple.
You went mute.
Yeah.
Ah, shoot.
There.
Oh no, it doesn't show on mute. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Now we
Okay.
can.
Okay,
Now,
good.
yes.
All right. Okay, great. I'm sorry. I'll say it again in case you missed it. Financing contingency, appraisal contingency, title contingency, inspection contingency, and environmental contingency. Environmental is very important on commercial. I got screwed up a couple times with that. Okay, so now, Mr. Seller, how long have you owned this building? Is the question I'm asking myself, because I'll go into contract with him as long as I got all these contingencies, which I already know you're going to have a huge problem with the financing one, just because you're overpaying for this property.
Right.
It's not worth $975. Now, of course, you can find people, I would say an insurance company, but it's not at $1 million. Basically hedge funds, insurance companies. I would maybe, and I'll give you some ways to find people who may be interested in partnering with you on this deal. But this is one of these where cash is king, where you got to have the cash to buy it, because lenders are not going to want to touch this. I mean, you can go to write down Scotsman's Guide. If you haven't already gone to Scotsman's Guide.
No.
Yeah, so write down Scotsman's Guide. And you want to search for lenders who do deals in Connecticut for strip malls.
Okay.
This wasn't where I was going to go, but since I'm talking about lenders, let me just stay here. But I forgot what the point I was making. Oh, shoot. Hold on. Because it was important. Write this down. Seller financing to remind me to come back to it once I come out of this rabbit hole that I'm about to go down about the lenders. Okay. So, so you got Scotsman Guy that you're going to look for lenders. Number 2, you are going to. Where did you find this deal? Was it on CoStar, LoopNet, off market? Shoot. Let me see, how can you do this? I know one way you can definitely do it is to call up the tax assessor, and whatever this property is zoned as, every place is different when you come to commercial. It may just be strip mall. It may see 6 units retail. I don't know. But tell them what your property is, or you can look up the tax assessor for Bridgeport and see what the zoning is for this property. And
I know
you know the zoning? Okay.
Yeah.
So you want to call up the tax assessor. And again, I don't know if you was on the call earlier, but I talked about the Freedom of Information Act.
Yeah.
You want to request, you want to say, I want a list of all the properties that have been sold in the past 3 years that have this particular zoning.
Okay.
Here's why. You got to, because you're going to need time to find your lenders. One, those properties that, and the reason why I say the past 3 years is because commercial properties don't trade as frequently as residential, right?
Right.
So hopefully within the past 3 years, there's been a couple of sales. What you want to do is you want to, and I don't know Bridgeport how much information is online. Like here in the city we got
Yeah.
we got Acris, so we can go to Acris and I can look at the mortgage, because if they got I want a list of the properties sold in the past 3 years for two reasons. One, if they took out financing, I want to contact those lenders.
They did it. It's owned straight out.
Huh?
There's no mortgage on its own straight out.
No, I'm not talking about the one you're buying. I'm talking about the list that you get from the tax assessor of the properties that are zoned like this property that have sold in the past 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't care about this property until I talk to you about sale or financing, which I wanted you to remind me about. Right now, we're just talking about going the lender route, right? So we don't know who those lenders are that have the appetite for this. Residential is easy because everybody sells to Fannie, Freddie kind of thing, or it's FHA, VA. That's easy for lenders for that. Hard money is easy for lenders for that. However, this building's not worth $975, so going the hard money route, they're really not going to bite. Even if you told them, I'm going to put down 99%, they ain't going to want to lend.
Yeah.
So, but we want to go to some people who are in that market and might be a little bit more aggressive for you. And the way you do that is we get a list, again, Freedom of Information Act, from the tax assessor of the properties that have sold with the same zoning in the past 3 years. We look up those properties and see if they had any lending on them. Number one, we Google, we search those lenders, and we contact them. And we say, hey, 2 years ago you lent on a similar property like this. I have a property that I'm in contract for, and I'm looking for a lender. Now, I know that we're in, turbulent economic times. And I have one tenant there. They look for what they call anchor tenants. I don't know if H&R Block is necessarily an anchor tenant, but I think they are. H&R Block should have a AAA credit rating to qualify as an anchor tenant. And they should have a long-term lease or at the property as well. So, what they're looking for is for your anchor tenants to be able to cover their mortgage payment.
Right.
Right? Which you're nowhere near now because you only got $3,000 a month. So you want to tell them what is your plan. And they may say, okay, we're willing to lend if you show us deposits and sign leases.
Okay.
You're going to remember this when you go back to the seller. Actually, all of your lenders that you talk to, if you go back and reapproach them saying, hey, listen, I got quality tenants, not, especially if you could get some national. I'm not sure about attracting national to Bridgeport, or at least regional, but a local mom and pop that's just starting up, that would be very, very difficult to qualify them as a tenant for the lender, right? So, for instance, I'll say, let's give an example. There's AutoZone. I just said that because it popped up in my mind from TV commercials, right? So AutoZone would be they're just like H&R Block. It's a national tenant. They should have a good credit rating. And so, all right, we know that if that local franchise location or corporate store location, if something happens because of the local economy, that national would pick up the slack. Without good guy clause or whatever, we can negotiate. Just like JR, who was in edible arrangements, You know what I mean? So those are like tenants that they would be looking for. But if you go to them saying, yeah, my homeboy over here, John, just graduated from barber school, and he's going to sign a lease with me to open up his barber shop in one of the spaces. No, that's not going to cut it. In a down economy, in an up economy, yeah, they'll take the chance. So I'm just speaking to you from the lender's perspective. So your deal ain't dead. You just need more time in contract to find the tenants who are going to rent, and they pre-lease with you. So you say, hey, sign this lease subject to termination if I don't close on the property. Like, you're being very forthcoming with them. And let them know, I need this signed lease to be able to close.
Right.
So the lender, hey, I got these signed leases. Let's process my loan. Let's get the appraisal done. Here are the leases that are going to be there. All right, Javier, tell me about the quality of tenants. It's H&R Block. It's AutoZone. It's a T-Mobile office. A T-Mobile's coming in. Like, whatever. As many as national tenants that you can find, the better off you are in securing the financing.
Okay.
All right. If it's a startup business, I will only do medical or something virus related.
Okay.
All right. That gives the lender a little bit more level of being comfortable that you won't default. So yeah. So you got your list of properties that recently sold in 3 years from the tax assessor. Those who didn't use a mortgage, who purchased all cash, is your source of a cash investor partnering with you on this property. You get that?
Yeah.
Yep. Because where did they get the cash from? Maybe they got more cash. And if they don't, they may even be open to accessing the equity in their current property. Hopefully there's a leased up
Right.
to partner with you. And if neither one or two works, number three, they may be able to tell you somebody in their network who could partner with you or who could lend to you. All right?
Right.
So first, Scotsman's Guide. 2, previous sales in the past 3 years. 3 is going to the local community banks and credit unions, like I had to do for the restaurant that I had on 72nd and Broadway. No national lender would touch me because I didn't have restaurant experience. But yet I convinced a little old lady at the credit union in the Bronx to do so.
Okay.
She actually gave me a whole number.
A whole
She
number?
called me from home on the weekend one time. Yeah.
Uh,
It's all about establishing rapport, building relationships, and I convinced that little old lady. She was 80-something years old. I forgot her name, but she was the president of the credit union. And she was the final say-so. And I had to convince her that she could trust me with her members' money. That I wouldn't default on the payment. And once I convinced her, she lent me the money with no experience. We were in a crash. All the negatives. Yet I opened up that restaurant.
right.
Sorry, we opened up that restaurant. No national bank would touch me, yet credit union in the Bronx did. So look for your local community banks and credit unions.
Oh, it's a good idea.
Have conversations with those lenders. All right, they have a vested interest because they're local. They're in the community.